baby, don't drop it.
Hello and welcome to Banded By. This is episode 2. Today's guest isn't any normal special guest. He's an absolute legend in the sport with over 65 years of experience, either boxing, judging, adjudicating, refereeing, name it all, he's done it. And he just so happens to be my father, Bill Cox. Pleasure to have you on the pod, Dad.
Thank you.
So, let me just get a real sense of you, who you are as a person. Let me hear about your early life and what really got you into the sport that we all love.
Well, I was born in Stepney in 1949. We had, I had 2 brothers and a sister, and we lived in Stepney all our lives, and had a normal family life. My dad was a docker. Not only a docker, he was a local councillor. And then when I was 10 years old, my dad decided on our estate to start a boxing club with some of the people that were on the estate, like Harry Baynard, and it was Burner Youth. That was our first club, was Burner Youth. We was there for, I suppose, 3 years. And then the council closed the clubhouse. It was the local clubhouse. There was a laundry underneath, and there was a space up top.
Right.
And then, rather than stop the boxing activity, because there was quite a few of us there by then, my dad spoke to Father Solomon's, who run St George's in the East Church in Cannon Street Road.
Okay. And
we moved there, and then that became St George's Stepney, where we had great success as junior boxers. I think one year that there was 7 or 8 of us that were London champions.
Any big names come out of St George's that you can think of?
The world champion was John H. Tracy. Before he even came to Repton, he was at St George's.
Right.
Neville Cole, who won the ABAs.
God rest his soul.
3 times. Eamon Cole, Johnny Shepherd, they were all good. It was a good junior club. We had a magnificent trainer, a man called Jackie Chappell, who actually left Repton to come to St George's.
Oh wow!
And it just went from strength to strength. But mainly, it was a junior club. There wasn't any seniors as such.
Like Newham is now, really.
Sort of thing like that, yes. But then. Obviously I got to 15 and I sort of like lost my love for boxing, sort of thing, and there was more things, there was more distractions outside.
Just to cut you there, you've gone from there, you've mentioned St George's, but you haven't told me what you done as an amateur. So let's just circle back before we get to 15, and I want to know what you done.
Well, I boxed, I suppose I boxed 50 odd, 60 times.
Okay.
I only lost about 5 or 6. I was London school, that was my highest thing. I won the London schools, which was really a hard thing to do. To get to the London finals, just to win the East Londons, I boxed 4 times to win the East Londons. And then we boxed, East London boxed North East London, and then we went to Manor Place Bath to the finals, where we boxed the South Londoners.
Do you remember who you lost out to at all?
I lost we ended up becoming an England international. Was a guy called David Banks.
Okay.
Jackie Chappell, Arthur Harding, my dad. Everybody thought I'd beat him, but I never got a decision. It's one of them. I had a referee that kept warning me for low blows, but I was hitting him in the solar plexus. So if that's low, but he was a school teacher, the referee. Then a fella called Bill Harris from St Bernard School. He run their team, St Bernard School. But it is what it is. As it happened, the next round, which was the quarterfinals of the Nationals, he fell sick. So I was walking along Cannon Street Road, all of a sudden his car pulled up, it was Mick Vosper who ended up becoming my stepfather. He said, "You're boxing." I said, "What do you mean I'm boxing?" He said, "David Banks pulled out, he's ill. You've got to take his..." So I ran up, got my kit in the car, straight to Romford, and I got beat. I got beat by a boy called Bill Fox.
Oh, Bill Cox versus Bill Fox. That would have been a tongue twister.
But, that was, and then I got a bit disillusioned. Yeah, it was a tough bout, but everybody thought I'd done enough. So I lost a bit of effort for the game, and obviously then I started work. I started work as a van boy.
That's at 15, right?
At
like
15,
you said.
yeah. And then I worked up until I was 17, and I became a driver. I've been a driver all my life, but now I'm a transport. I still had really good friends from the boxing, and my dad then left St George's, and Tony Burns asked him to come here and be the secretary of Repton,
Right.
which he did do. And then he bugged me. He said to me, "Look, you really do like the boxing. Why don't you come and be a judge?" So I think I was 21, 22 when I joined here.
Okay,
Not as a boxer, as an official.
So you joined Repton as an official at 22.
Yeah.
So how long was you judging for before you started refereeing?
I refereed for, well then you had to, and it was strict. You had to be a judge for 2 years before they would accept you as a referee, which I did. And my dad said to me, do you want to be a referee? I said, "Oh, I'll do it."
Yeah.
And I did it, and I loved it. I loved every bit of it, and I had a great teacher. We had a referee who went to the Olympics, a fellow called Joe Gutteridge. He trained me. He trained Richie Davis, who went on to become a fabulous professional referee. Mm-hmm. I was asked to turn professional, but my dad said, "Go and have a look at it and see what you think." And I didn't. The professional game was never something that I liked.
Yeah, I always remember as a kid asking you, "Oh, Dad, you're such a good ref, why don't you get into the pro?" And you always said, "It's just not for me." Like, with amateur boxing, you always said it's a sport, it's something you love, you cherish, where with the amateurs, not the amateurs, the professionals, as we know, it's more of a business, it's more, so I can completely understand that. So going back, you refereeing and judging now, Grandad's the secretary here. Tell us a bit more.
Well, not only was he a secretary here, he started off in the North East Division as a council member, and he done every post. It can never ever be equalled because them positions are not there, but he rose from a council member of the North East Division right up until the chairman of the ABA, as it was then. It wasn't England Box, it was ABA.
Yeah, it was ABA. Before the
and
split.
he was the first ever paid chief executive officer of the ABA.
Oh, wow.
And there was a lot of toing and froings and politics going on. My dad was a stickler for club coaches to be in the corner. They didn't like it.
Would you mean so, like, for instance, if a boy was boxing in, I don't know, the ABAs, having the club coaches instead of the England coaches?
Well, no, it would, at that time, if you boxed in the ABAs, you had your club coaches. But if you boxed for England, they brought in a rule that you only had the ABA coaches.
The England coaches?
Yeah, England.
Yeah.
No, they were ABA coaches.
Oh,
England.
okay, fair enough.
It was ABA.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And then my dad bucked against it. He said, "No, it's not right." And anyway, they relieved it a bit. So if it was in this country, your club coach could hand the water up to the ABA coaches.
So basically, there was a gumshoe washer.
That man up there,
Tony
Burns, said, "I ain't no water carrier for them." Anyway, this all went on. Anyway, next thing, my dad wrote an article in the Boxing News saying that he didn't think this was right and all that. And they banned him. They banned him for bringing the game into disrepute. Well, that was the first time I could ever remember my dad actually crying. I went to his house. He said, what they've done. Look what they've done to me. And it made me a bit think about it. But anyway, lucky enough, a reporter from the Times, a fellow called Nick Pitt, took up the case, and they fought it through the courts and they got it disbanded. But in the meantime, he was supposed to get the OBE because he was the chairman of it. But because he was suspended, they give it to a fellow who they put in interim, a fellow called Len Mills, which was bad. My dad had done a lot more work than Len Mills. But this was politics. Even then, this was big politics then, because the police and in London, predominantly the city police, they was vying for all the positions and all that. And my dad was
just weren't having that.
Yeah. My dad was grassroots boxing. He'd be in his gym on a Sunday morning and be sweeping up, and he was the chairman.
Yeah,
he'd do all that.
He was a real.
So he was a real amateur.
Purist,
yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt. And anyway, it went on. While he was chairman of the ABA, they had this meeting at a place called Oxford Lees, and they done away with. They was told to go and form an emergency steering committee, but they didn't. They went away and formed England Boxing.
Okay.
So my dad lost the chairmanship and all that, and then from then, my dad was very ill. He had cancer of the esophagus. And all that, but he fought it for 7 years, and his biggest thing for fighting it 7 years was to fight them people to make sure the boxers, grassroots, got exactly what they did. Yeah. And he was known in the sport. He'd argue with you, but once it was finished, he'd forget about it. And he was known all over the country for that. But he was a walking, and please believe me, he was a walking rule book. He knew everything.
Well, I think that about you. So if you to say that about him, he must have had his. Well, you always say, I've heard this saying a few times about people. I'm not going to mention no names, but what they know about boxing, they can.
Right on the back of a tuppy stamp. Dot the I's and cross the T's.
I've heard that a few times.
That's the trouble at the moment. At this moment of time, we've got people in England boxing that are not boxing people. They've never run a club. They don't know what it's like to have to raise money to keep these places going. They wouldn't have a clue. Most of them are ex-service people, so they've just given all the time in the world and all that. But I don't want to go too much into that. But it's not, for me, that kind of system where it's completely overloaded with service people.
Right, so let's divulge. Grandad was ill. He passes away 6 months after I was born.
Yeah.
December 1993.
Yeah.
So
we actually had him roughly where this table is now, is where my dad laid the day before we buried him.
And fun fact for the people. Also, as you can see with the beautiful aesthetics of Repton Boxing Club, they do not touch the walls, do not wash them, do not clean them. A fun fact is, the last time they was washed or cleaned was the night before my granddad's funeral. Who was it that come in and done it? It was you.
Me, my cousin Gary, my brother Peter. There was about 8 of us. We washed it. And my cousin Gary, who was a glazier, we had loads of little broken windows all the way around where kids had thrown.
Yeah.
He repaired
So if you think about it, I'm nigh on coming up 33 now, so it's nearly been 32 years since these old walls have been cleaned.
Yeah, and now where they do a lot of filming in here, that's how they like it. They want it.
The rustic, the old school.
But the other thing is, all the way around this gym with flags. Wherever we went abroad, my dad or myself.
What,
or
used to hang the flags?
No, they used to be around the wall.
Oh,
but
okay.
where we had the bad roof, they all got, most of them got ruined.
Okay.
And we had a lot of billheads that we got from wherever we were. They were ruined. So there was a lot of history got lost.
So we're finished talking about Grandad, God rest his soul. So now let's talk about your career as a referee, judge, adjudicator, now an ITO, some of the names that you've been around, kids you've seen come through. Let's just hear some more about you as a referee.
Well, as I say, I started refereeing. I was, 24, 26. I think it was 25 when I started refereeing.
Okay.
And I done all the normal. My first ever referee was at a place called East Ham Milkman's Club. It was a East Ham show. That was the first show I ever done. But 2 years I refereed all club shows, and then eventually I was asked if I would go and do my adjudication to become what was then a London major panel referee, and I went and done the Northwest.
Okay.
The Northwest ABAs in Murray Grove there, the London Irish Centre.
Okay, yeah.
And who was the people that there was passing me out was a man called Ollie Dixon, who was an ex-referee, and another one called Norman Cowell. And they passed me out, and I became a London major panel referee. So that meant that I could do everything up until the London finals and the quarterfinals of the ABAs.
Okay, so that's equivalent to now a grade B.
Grade B, yeah.
Okay.
So then, again, there was a lot of politics going on.
Always is.
Yeah, well, this held me back from. I became an England major panel referee. I think I was 27 or 28, and I was due to go to the first ever multi-nations in Liverpool.
Okay.
And I was at the semi-finals of the ABAs at Crystal Palace.
Right.
And a fella called, God rest his soul, he's dead now, a fella called John Ball come to me and said, do you know where the chain is? The chain for which I didn't. It was my granddad's chain.
Okay.
Because what happened when all that went on, when they banned him and done everything, he wouldn't give him the chain. The chain didn't belong to England; it belonged to the ABA.
Okay, the ABA. Okay.
So they said, well, if the chain don't come back, we're not putting you up for EABA.
Who you?
Yeah, me.
Okay.
So I spoke to a fella who was an OIC at the time from West Ham, a fella called Danny Talbot.
Okay.
And he said, what, yeah? So I repeated what he'd said to me, and he went and had murders with him. Anyway, the next thing, Johnny Ball went up to my stepmother and asked for the chain. Well, she quickly said to him, if you was a friend of Bill's, you wouldn't ask for the chain. So that was the end of that saga. So I missed the first one. So anyway, I got put up, I went to the second one, and I passed my EABA examination there. And I was on the EABA and you had to do 2 years. But after 18 months, they said that I'd been noticed, and would I do my exam again in Liverpool. So I did my exam in Liverpool. Me, Georgie Brugnoli, I can't think of his name, from West Ham, Alan Smith.
Okay.
Alan Smith failed, I passed, Brugnoli failed. And so I was the only one who passed that one. Much to people's dismay. But I always remember I passed, and when we buried my dad in it, when my dad laid in here, in every corner we had red and yellow ribbons with black in them. Yeah, it was on every post. And my dad's old mate, a man called Richie King, which is Paul King's uncle.
Okay, yeah.
Unbeknownst to me, had taken one of them, and when I passed at Liverpool, he come up and said, "Look, I've got them."
Oh wow!
So
where's that now? Do you know?
No, he had them. They weren't. He kept them.
I thought he'd give it to you.
No,
okay.
He said, he kept them in his pocket.
Oh, brilliant!
And then I just went on. I've done everything I've done world championships. I've done the world championships when Amir Khan won the gold, our first ever gold, a world champion, junior world championship.
Well, I remember growing up watching you at the 2002 Commonwealth Games.
I went to the Commonwealth Games, and I was one of only 2 referees who got the final. Because what happens if you're rated good, they give you a final.
Yeah, just like with footballing referees, the best ones get the best games and the higher stake games.
And then at the end of it, a man from Scotland who was one of the ones running the tournament, he come up and give me my result sheet, and for the 2 weeks that I was there, my mark was 97.5%. I picked up 1 caution. In the times, if you was 1 above or 1 under, you got a caution. I've done that once in 2 weeks in all the judging. But a good story at the Commonwealth Games, and this is so true, you couldn't write a script. The prelims were a place called Wivenshaw. Anyway, there was a referee from Uganda called David London. Anyway, he refereed. The president of AIBA then was a Pakistan man named Amir Chowdhury.
Okay.
He put an article in the paper that this referee had made a political decision and stood him down. Oh. So they stood him down anyway. We was talking between ourselves. All of a sudden, the day before the semi-finals, which were at the MEN, Manchester Arena, we said, "No, we're not having that. He can't be doing it." He come to us, he said, "Please believe me." He said, "If I go back to Uganda with that, I'll get on the plane and you'll never see me again. It's a disgrace of the country." Wow. Anyway, we got to the MEN, and we said, "We're not going to referee unless David is reinstated." Okay. And we demanded to see Chowdhury.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, cut a long story short, he didn't want to see us, but he walked in the room, and there was Wayne Rose from Australia. There were so many referees there, it was unbelievable. But myself, Wayne Rose, Billy Phillips, we was the ones who organised it. I even had a referee from England say to me, "You're just like your father, a docker, they want to cause a strike." I said, "No, it's right." Anyway, Chowdhury just walked in the room, the referee's room, and went, "The referee from Uganda is reinstated." And blimey, not only did he reinstate him, we gave him a final as well. So these are stories that you couldn't make up. This is, and obviously, I've refereed all over Europe. I've refereed in India. I've refereed in Korea. I don't know. I've refereed, and you should know. I was more away than I was indoors.
Yeah, 100%. I remember most nights after school, a couple of times a week, I was at York Hall sitting at ringside watching him referee. He'd give me or my brother a pen and paper and ask us to score it. So me being a referee now, a judge now, paid off sitting at ringside with my dad from such a young age. But talking about that, let's divulge from the refereeing side of it. So you you had your son, Sam, my brother, he boxed. You had my nephew, Gary, who boxed out of here, Gary Coveley. My uncle, Alan, boxed out of here. But what was it like for you being such a big part of the sport and then watching your nephew or your son compete?
It was proud moments. It was proud. I mean, I think his second bout, Samuel had, he was boxing for Repton, although he eventually went to West Ham, but he was here. But and Bobby Beck and that said, you know, what a good boxer and what a good potential he had. Gary the same. Exactly. I mean, Gary, I drove the club. We drove to Barnsley when he won the schools, and one of the things that I missed, and it was horrible. I drove up there, and I was in it anyway. Young Stevie Young got beat, and his dad, he wanted going back to the thing. I said, David said to me, were you running back to the hotel? I said, yeah, I'm running back to the hotel. And I missed Andy Lee winning his schoolboy title. So yeah, it's good. Yeah, obviously you get nervous. I never got nervous when Alan was boxing because at that time I wasn't.
He wasn't a relation.
I wasn't married to your mum. Although I used to love watching him box, I used to call him the crab because he was always sideways. Tony Burns said he's one of the best boxers that he ever handled. So from then on, through the refereeing and all that, and it come to, I think it was 2000 and, I can't remember now, it was 2000. Anyway, I'll get a phone call from Frank Hendry, who did the Commonwealth Games. He said they want a person from England to go on to the European Refereeing Judges Commission. We've put up a few names, but the only name they've accepted is yours.
Okay.
Would you be willing to do it? So I said yes, I was willing to do it, but I had to stop refereeing. But before that, before that, I was due to go to the Olympics in Athens in 2004. And I was due to go to Poland for the qualification tournament, because you had to qualify.
Yeah, of course.
You had to see and qualify. But my daughter Candice decided to give birth 5 or 6 weeks early. So she wasn't well, and I couldn't go. I didn't go. Ian Irwin phoned me up, can we get you in another plane? I said, I can't go. I'm not leaving her. She's ill like that. I can't. I'm not doing it.
So George is the only reason you never refereed at the Olympics.
It's that's the reason that England never had a referee in Athens.
Oh, okay.
When Amir won the silver. And just another little story. I mean, George, my grandson, eventually appeared, and then when he was 11, when he was leaving school, they asked him to write a memoir of what his years in a private school had been, and he said one of the things is I cost my grandfather. He don't call me grandfather, father.
Yeah.
Said I cost my father the Olympics.
You should have that on your head,
Yeah. So anyway, I'll go on to commission, and then again they asked me, and I put Billy Phillips up, and he went to the Worlds in Chicago, and then he went to the Olympics in Beijing.
Oh, brilliant!
So I was on that, and I was going and doing commission work all over the place. I was going as adjudicator and all that, all different shows. I was running shows in Europe, And then it come to the Olympics in 2012 in my own country. And the thing that I then had a complete breakaway from boxing. I never got an invite to the Olympics, which was in my own country. I was, at that time, chairman of the Referee and Judges of England Commission, and I was Secretary of Europe, and I never got an invite to the Olympics.
Wow.
So I said to your mum, that's it, I've had enough. I came out of it. The only reason I came back a few years later was that George started going up to Islington, which was local to where we lived, and I used to take George up to his training session and all that. And then Lenny Aglen said to me, would you come back? I said, yeah, I would. But I left it. And then your mum died. And I said, well, look, I've got the time on my hands now. I will come back. But then they said to me, you'll have to do all your exams again. I said, yeah, what?
Because I remember I did my grade C judging. I had my dad next to me retaking a judge's course. I thought, what is that? He's mental.
Anyway, I did it. I went and done C to B, and then I went and done an A. And the people that were who were adjudicating me, I'd passed them out, and one of them wasn't even a regional referee when I was
So
doing top
wasn't
class.
you, before you 2012, you was a AIBA 3-star?
I was equivalent. No, there was no freestyles.
Okay.
You had to be. I was an AIBA. You was classed as an international referee.
Okay.
And then when you refereed there, you had a book, a control book. And if you got less than an A, they'd mark you down. Yeah, so anyway, I done. I think I've still got the record book indoors somewhere. But I just went on, and as I say, my biggest thing was refereeing the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, obviously you had the Olympics taken away from your big grandson.
But the referee that was from England was a fellow called Mickey Bassey, who I actually trained and mentored him. So he went on to be.
So you was in spirit.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in probably one of the most famous boxing clubs in the world, Repton Boxing Clubs. I'm literally looking at the wall. I can see great names. There's no point listing them. You know the majority of them. Give me some stories about this an amazing and historic boxing club.
Well, it's produced, I think it's four world champions we've had. We've had an Olympic champion. We've had three Commonwealth champions. There's hundreds and thousands of boys that have gone through this. They're too far and too many to name. You always remember certain ones. I mean, that board up there says for young England and Great Britain, but we've got Swiss referee, Tom Matala, who boxed for us. We got Dave Stewart there, who boxed for Scotland.
Alison Ryan. Nowadays you've got Alison Ryan.
Who boxed for St Lucia.
You've got a Scot up there somewhere.
Yeah. But most of them pitches up there, I would say I've refereed 90% of them.
It's mad. And luckily enough for me, my side, my mother's side, my uncle Alan, so my mum's brother, is up there, representative of England. Me cousin Gary didn't quite make it up there. He boxed for England as a schoolboy multiple times.
He was on the England squad.
Yeah,
he was on the England squad, and he didn't like the England training when I was going to Crystal Palace, and he was in the same squad with Amir Khan, Stephen Swift, loads of them, really
Kevin
good.
Mitchell,
David Price,
yeah.
There was loads of them, but he didn't like.
I speak to a lot of boxers, and a lot of boxers turn around and say, I don't like the England camps because they tried to, like even Matty Marshall in the last episode, they tried to change the way he boxed completely.
But what they've got to realise, what boxers have to realise, boxing in a club show and boxing internationally is two completely different sports. It's entirely different. That's why I try to not change you, but hone your skills for that standard of boxing. And I mean, two of the boys that we sponsor at the moment through Powerday, Damar Thomas and Patrice Magalzi, and the girl Sasha Ricky, they've all had to adopt
or change their style ever so slightly.
To win, yeah.
That's a perfect segue now. Obviously, you are a transport manager at Powerday, but you're also the head of the Powerday Foundation. And as we all know, the Powerday Foundation, they sponsor London Boxing. They helped London Boxing every year. They give talented kids a bursary every year. They saved London Boxing when they was in a dark place, really. So tell us about the foundation, your role in the foundation, what you do on a day-to-day basis.
On a day-to-day basis, I mean, Paul King, who's on it with myself, and now we've got Tara Crossan with us as well.
Yeah.
But Paul does all the paperwork and I do certain bits of it, but he does 99.9% of the paperwork. Okay. I do the footwork and go around, because obviously it's London. I go around to the gyms and see what they need, what we do. But how the foundation started, when I first started at Powerday, Mick, our governor, a staunch Chelsea supporter, as you well know.
Up the Chelsea.
And he said, we had season tickets over the Arsenal, and he knew I was an Arsenal supporter, and he kept giving me tickets to go and see the Arsenal all the time. And I said to him one day, do you like boxing, Mick? He went, yeah. I said, look, England's boxing Ireland, the Royal National.
Okay, yeah.
Would you like to come as a guest? He went, yeah. So I took him along there. And when I got there, on the top table was Paul King, who at that time was the chief executive officer of GB.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
And Steve, I can't think of his certain, the middleweight, Irish, he fought Eubank. It's gone a blank, but I think about it. He was up there, but I knew him anyway because I knew him from the Peacock.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said he really enjoyed it, talking to us. And anyway, I said, Paul would like to come and see us if you want to be a sponsor. So Paul went to see him as a sponsor, and a sponsor for GB. And Mick said, no, don't want to be a sponsor for GB. I'll sponsor London. I've always said, if I made it, I'd give back. So that's when the foundation started, from there.
Oh, wow.
But not only do we do boxing, I mean, we sponsor Enfield Town Football Club, Tia Connor Gals. We also run, and it was the first ever, Down Syndrome, Great Britain Swimming Championships.
Oh, wow.
Which we've done for the last 3, this will be the 4th year this year. And it's great. I mean, the work we do within that foundation, we've raised over £13 million for amateur boxing clubs in London in the last 10, 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And having said that, talking about Paul King, what a pioneer of the sport he's been. He was the first man to get us the funding from Sport England, which allows us to do what we do now.
Yeah.
He was the man who was instrumental of putting the first ever 4-year plan together. And now he works with us on our foundation, and it's a very enjoyable job. I'm getting paid for doing something I've done all my life for absolutely nothing. In fact, it's cost me money, cost me jobs, cost me holiday time with yous.
Yeah.
And when it's times you've gone abroad and Cindy's gone away with you or whatever, because I couldn't go because I was very, so young. So when they did that, going back, when they did that to me for 2012, now you can understand why I went.
Yeah, because you sacrificed so much.
But I've got to thank now Lenny Hagland and my grandson for getting me back
into the sport.
So I'm back into it now. I am the vice chairman of Repton. I'm also one of the London evaluators, so I'm still mentoring and watching referees and judges, which I enjoy. I referee. I was still refereeing. I don't know whether I will referee this. I suppose I will if there's an emergency. But I'm 76 years old now. To cut a long story short, I've been in the game since I was 10 years old, so it's 66 years. I think I will probably do I'm a grade A supervisor as well.
Okay, yeah.
And so you'll probably see me out there more now doing supervising and more evaluating, trying to improve the refereeing and the judging over the years. And that will be my main role now.
That's brilliant. So going forward from where we was, you're now an adjudicator, but luckily when I passed out as a judge, like I said, I was on the course with my father. I did 2 probations. I passed out on my 3rd because my 2nd was actually a Dagenham show and 90% of the show was stoppages, so it wasn't really much to judge. So I passed out on the Islington show. Jumbo asked Lenny to pass me out. Then on my first official show judging was a Powerday Hooks show down in Hayes, I think it was.
No, it was in
big sports hall, wasn't it?
Yeah, quite big sport. I'm trying to think of the name of it now.
Well, anyway, cut a long story short, I'll never forget this. My dad was refereeing, I was judging, but then obviously people have to move around the ring and sometimes the referees have to come down and judge. And so, like the table we're sitting on, slightly different. I was sitting this side, my dad was sitting this side, and we got to judge 2 bouts together. So that's something I will never ever forget till the day I died, that I got to referee, I keep saying referee, I got to judge alongside my father. So just to wrap things up, going forward in the sport, is there, like, where do you see the sport going?
Well, I see the sport. I see it's been growing lately. The last couple of years, I can see it growing. There's plenty of enthusiasm out there for the clubs. Mm-hmm. I think England boxing is far, far too top heavy. I think some of the things they're trying to do are not right. And then I think it's our job to speak up because they work for us. People forget this. It might be England boxing, but it wasn't for our clubs, and take my dad's words, grassroots, they wouldn't be up there. Yeah. So they need to listen to us. Yeah. They need to listen. These people who are up there running it haven't got a Scooby about running a boxing club. Please listen, they need to listen to us. And you go to championships and they're like ants. We never had that when I was doing it. There could be 10. Top weight, there'd be any adjudicator, and there'd be 2 or 3 of us there. Top weight.
Fair enough.
But it's all the workers. But yeah, boxing is very expensive, and these people who run England boxing have got no accountability of what our wrong word for accountability. They've got no idea what it is to run an amateur boxing club and how expensive it is. They wouldn't know. So I think we need to, and I'll say London boxing, we need to voice our. I was at an AGM the other week, and I voiced my opinion. It's certain things that they need to listen. because otherwise they'll just price clubs out, and you'll probably end up with a super club somewhere or the other. And that ain't the way it is. You've got to remember, again using my dad's words, this is a grassroots sport. If it wasn't for the boxers, there'd be no need for anyone else of us.
100%, because as we know, I mentioned it in the last episode with Matty Marsh, you box for your honour as an amateur. It's literally, you don't get paid until, if you're lucky, you box for GB, etc., etc. But the amount of man hours and mileage and money that you've put into it before you receive a penny in amateur boxing is nothing. So I would like to say thank you to my sponsor, Bang Boxing London. Thank you to my father for coming down. And on a last note, this episode will be dedicated to my grandfather, Bill Cox Sr, which is luckily enough, if you notice, right behind mine and my father's shoulder, hopefully you can see it, there's a picture of my granddad with the famous gold chain that my dad was talking about that they couldn't find. But thank you. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and hopefully I'll see you soon shortly.
Hey, Jimmy, don't drop that.